Hello everyone, my name is Cocker and welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are all doing well, and apologies for this terrible camera quality. I'm recording on my PC to simplify a few things. So what I have done is I have taken the HDMI output from my laptop, put it through the capture card, and now you'll be able to see my screen. Now, let's get started on the video. So you guys requested to do a video on Throttlestop, and I was like, okay, fine. Tons of requests, so gotta do it. Sorry, I've been busy past few days. My parents and me got a new sound system, and I had to help set it up, get the Blu-ray, everything running. We got a new Xbox One X, which by the way allowed us to get Forza Horizon 4, so we're gonna be able to see streams of that. Anyhow, but let's get started on the video. So, Throttlestop. Throttlestop is a software that you can use to basically undervolt your CPU or overclock your CPU, whatever the hell you want. We're gonna be doing undervolting. Basically what that does is reduces the voltage of your CPU, which basically reduces heat for the same performance. That's what we're going to be starting off today. So first you want to download Throttlestop from Tech Power Up or whatever other mirror you tend to use. But download Throttlestop, and once you've done that, you want to, well, get it to start up whenever you launch your computer. So you want to go into your task scheduler in Windows, and in here in the task scheduler library, you're going to create a new basic task, and then in here you can name it. So we're just going to call it Throttlestop. And in here you can say when you want it to launch. So we're going to do when it log on, because usually with Windows 10 now, when you launch your computer, it's going to first require you to log in. So when you log on, that's when you want the program to launch. So that's what we're going to select, and then start a program. And then you select which program to run, which is Throttlestop, which is for you. If you'd left everything on default, is located in C program files, and then Throttlestop or whatever the hell you've named it. Then you do that. Well, let's just do that like so. Next, and then you hit finish. I've already done that, so don't need to do it again. Then you get something like this to pop up. So this is basically the interface for Throttlestop. It's as simple as that. Or, well, no, you think it's going to be complicated as hell. Look at all these numbers, look at all these buttons to press, and you think like, what do I do, Sander? Well, of course, that's why you requested this video. So, basically, let's first go into the options to cover things first. So, first you got 4 presets that you can set on your own. There's performance, game, internet, and battery. I've just renamed internet super battery, and I've changed the settings a little bit. But here you can basically see most of the things that are going on. So you can set an alarm for when your GPU or CPU hits a specific temperature. You can change the color that Throttlestop needs to display in order to tell you that the CPU or GPU temperatures are going high. Another thing that I would say to do is tick on start minimized and minimize on close, so that when you close it, the app doesn't actually close. It's still here in the bottom, and you will see it as a little, well, a little small icon with the number of the preset that you have. So I've set preset 4, so it now says 4. If I set it to 3, the bottom one changed to 3. Simple as that. Now, let's go back to the options, and in here there is also a few other things. You can set which GPU you have, for example. This doesn't really give you control over your NVIDIA GPU, but it will allow you to monitor it. And you can set your battery profile or your AC profile when you are plugged in, or whether you're on battery. Then whenever it detects you plugging in or out, it will change the level of performance that you want to select. Now, I have not done that, but because I change everything manually. But yeah, let's go into here. So when you want to undervolt your CPU, you need to go into the FIVR panel right here. And here you can change the CPU core, the Intel GPU core, and the CPU cache. Now, one thing about the CPU core is that if you want to change it, they need to be in link with the cache. So if the cache changes, the CPU core needs to change. If both do not match, then no change will be applied as far as I'm concerned, because I've dropped the CPU core individually without changing the cache all the way to minus 125 and even lower, and it didn't change anything. But when I linked the cache to it, then we started to hit performance issues because I undervolted it way too much, got blue screen of death, and then the computer reboots, going back to its default voltages. So And what I would recommend for this particular laptop is actually to not set things lower than minus 75 or 70-ish%. I'm actually going to tone mine down to 70 because I did get blue screens on the settings of 75. So I'm going to change these to 70. System agent, don't touch that. Into iGPU, you can also touch that one, and I'm gonna also lower that one to 70. And there's iGPU slice. I'm not familiar with what it does, but I'm just gonna keep it like so. And then apply the settings, and that's it. You've undervolted your CPU, simple as that. And of course, in order to get that, in order to unlock it, you need to unlock the adjustable voltage. Also put it to adaptive, because the cache seems to be very problematic with static voltages. It caused mine to crash, at least, and it did while recording, actually. So there you go. Don't put it to static if you don't want it to like be at a low voltage all the freaking time, where it can damage some well, that's not gonna damage components because it's a low voltage, but you're gonna get constant crashes and all that whenever it requires a lot more power than is available. So we've lowered the available power, simple as that. We have changed that, and now we basically get a little bit more battery life out of it. Of course, also, in order to save it, you're gonna need to set the OK save voltages immediately, or if you want to play it safe, OK save voltages when Throttlestop exits. So that is also a thing that you want to change, so that when you save it, it actually saves. Now, I have two profiles set up. One that when it's basically when I need a little bit of performance, or when I need a lot of performance, and when I'm on travel. So only thing I really changed is speed shift and disable things like turbo, speed step, and that sort of stuff. So whenever we're talking about performance, we have something that we have speed shift. Speed shift allows this Intel CPU to, like, based on a variable, change how much it throttles. So when we set it to 255, it's going to be throttled as much as possible. So here in battery, I've set it to 1, and that means maximum performance whenever it's required. And then, of course, the turbo enabled still, and speed step C1E on, and BD Pro Shot as well. I don't know what those things mean, but that was on by default. People say it helps battery life, so I just didn't touch them. And then there is super battery, and here I've disabled the turbo, and I've put the speed shift to 255, which is significantly gonna throttle performance. So right now I'm still in battery mode, and in battery mode, yes, and I have fast performance. So you can see that when I try to open Explorer, it actually launches pretty fast. Click, 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 click. It, well, surprisingly slow at this rate. Let's actually let's put it on battery, because that seemed very slow. And of course you could disable the turbo if you want to do that as well. So here on the super battery mode, I've disabled the turbo, so it's not allowed to do anything in that department. And yeah, that's basically how I undervolted my CPU. Now, when it comes to the GPU, things get a little bit, let's say, finicky. When we're talking about the GPU, this laptop doesn't let me touch the voltage. I have tried using MSI Afterburner, and the core voltage is not unlocked. I cannot change it, and if I would to be able to change it, I can only lower it. I can't increase, or I mean I can only increase it, I can't lower it. So GPU voltages are basically untouchable, but the only thing that I can recommend is to go into your NVIDIA control panel, and in here you want to change, basically set the global setting always to optimal performance. So here in manage 3D settings, if it wants to load, this is also always a little bit slow, but here in global settings, just set it to optimal power, so that for every app that does run will use optimal power, and then for every app that you don't want to run in optimal power, just select those individually in the program settings. So for me that would be any game or Photoshop and that sort of stuff. For those programs I want to set it, so here for Media Encoder, for example, from Adobe, I want to set this at the for the setting for power. So here we go, power management mode. It takes from the global setting, but we want to change that to prefer maximum performance, so that the CPU and the GPU, or so that, sorry, that the GPU doesn't get hindered back whenever we try and render something. So do that for the programs that you wish to use the GPU on. Otherwise, you can also force it to maximum performance in the global settings anyway. honestly, because the GPU only tends to kick in whenever a program really requires it. So it auto selects the graphics processor necessary, and it does a very good job of selecting which processor to use for specific games. So when it's a light game, it will try and use Intel graphics, but whenever a heavy game is working in the background, it will select its own NVIDIA GPU instead of the Intel GPU. So that we get a little bit more performance. And the same goes for Adobe products. It auto detects the NVIDIA GPU to use that instead of the Intel GPU. So actually using the global setting maximum performance is not such a bad idea. But that's basically the only tip I can give you, because I cannot undervolt GPU. I think it's because it's a laptop version or the Max Q version. Max Q version is already pretty undervolted to begin with, because it's a Max Q design. They lower the voltage to reduce temperatures so that they can fit these inside these thin and light laptops. So that is basically my recommendation for Throttlestop. Set 2 profiles on Throttlestop for super battery and battery, and change the settings the way you like it. I'm actually going to keep this one on 128, and that's because that's a little bit in the middle, and that will allow me to have some performance when I need it, but also not use, or also not always be on the lookout for stuff to process. So battery management, I would just suggest to leave it like I leave it here, 128 on the battery, or low, or lower. If you prefer maximum performance, you can set that to 1, of course. And super battery, disable the turbo, set that speed shift to 255. Switch between profiles. You could just do that by right-clicking on that, or, well, if you would right-click, and then you can change the profiles here. Super battery. You can select whichever you want to save, and that's pretty much it. There's not much else to it. That's how I undervolt my laptop. I'm sorry if it's a little bit of a rushed video. There's still a lot of information about Throttlestop that I do not yet know of. It's a lot of technical stuff about CPUs and internals and functions inside those CPUs. So things like ProShot, I have no clue what they do. And that is basically how I undervolt my laptop. You change a few settings, and there you go. You now have an undervolted laptop that will suck a lot less power out of your battery. And yeah, you can also set it to maximum high performance whenever you're gaming, so that you can just boom, game on out of there and not have any performance hindrance on the clock speed. So that's pretty much it. I want to thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you liked it, and a dislike if you if you didn't like it. And follow me on Instagram, Twitter, the stuff. Link in the description for Throttlestop as well. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.